Welcome to I Love My Club By, with me, your host, Seamus Barry, the podcast that gives you the insight into our local games of hurling and camogie. Join us as we take a look at some of the characters around the county on I Love My Club By.
Very welcome along to this 2022 preview show of the Hurling Championship in Waterford. And of course the championship got underway tonight with Dungarvan versus 4 Mile Water. Both western sides faced off in Dungarvan Fraher Field, and Dungarvan were the victors on a scoreline of 118 to 13 points, an 8-point victory for Peter Smith's side. And of course we talked to Peter earlier during the week, and this is what he had to say in the lead up to tonight's game.
So I'm here in Dungarvan with Peter Smith. This is Peter's second year in charge of Dungarvan. He's a proud Cork man. He was telling me off air a second ago. Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I suppose, like I said, this is your second year in charge. Last year you reached the semi-final. We were talking about it off air. Maybe a little bit of regret about last year.
Yeah, we were hurling exceptionally well, and we came up against a kind of a movable object. It wasn't the greatest day for hurling, but we turned at that match against the elements a point up. We should have seen it out, but fair play to one more. They ground it out, as all Peter Queeley's teams would do.
He's a man I know very well. He coached my own club when we won the senior in 2013. His team seem to kind of have that about him, don't they?
They do, and he's above and stars now in Cork as well, so I wish him the worst luck with that.
You can't get away from him.
Exactly.
Look at the Dungarvan. I suppose you're playing 4 Mile Water. I suppose you'd say rival, or not rivals, but almost local rivalry, because they're not that far away in terms of down in the west. 4 Mile Water as a football club, I suppose, bring a different challenge than most teams do.
They do, but they're not playing football first. Normally in Cork, they normally play the football round first, and you might catch a crowd that way. But down here, I think it's the right way to go. Play all the hurling first, and then play the football second. In football, you can play in the harsher conditions. 4 Mile won a great football county last year. We're very lucky not to progress again in the hurling, but they have some stars within the team. We know that. We know the Jamie Barnes, the Conor Gleesons, the Tom Barnes, a couple of young fellas under the 20s as well. So they have a fairly solid 15 plus going forward. So
and they have a very good free taker in Aaron Curry as well. He's been a serious radar with the under 20s as well. He seems to be a player pushing through. So I suppose discipline will be probably key this Friday night.
Discipline is key. Discipline is key every night. But yes, with a good free taker around the place, you just can't. That's self-harming. It's like not winning your own puck outs. You can't do it.
And how have preparations been so far in the lead up to championship?
I think this has been the same for everybody. With the split season, I would have thought that most fellas would go on their holidays in June and stuff like that. And it's just not the way. Maybe people haven't got used to it. Maybe it could be set up better. But everybody's back now, and they're all eager to go. So we've a full panel. We've most of last year. So
and
touch wood.
I was talking to John Meany earlier, and he said it to me. He was like, there seems to be a wedding every weekend now leading up to matches.
Wedding
and
or
stags.
a concert,
something on. I suppose that's probably something maybe the county board might have to look at, because hurling is a summertime sport. We all know that, but summertime is also people's downtime usually.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe. And I spoke to John Meany about the fun being taken out of hurling in recent years, the seriousness. Are the lads still enjoying coming to the field?
Oh, when they come up, they're more than enjoying it. But COVID had an awful lot to do with that. It's very hard to tell a young fella who's been locked up for the last 2 years he can't go to a concert or he can't. But I would expect when you come to championship, or the couple of weeks leading up to championship, there's a switch on. So everything goes out the window then for those 6-8 weeks, and you apply yourself appropriately.
And what's the target? What are you looking for with Dungarvan this year?
To go as far as we can, to get out of the group. Well, everybody gets out of the group, but get out of the group in as best place you can be. So if we can top the group, you could be in a semi-final, you could be in a quarter-final. So that's the target. After that, we'll reassess the personnel we're left with, who we left, and because things are tight in clubs like. Things are tight with numbers. couple of injuries could mess you around. We got caught in the semi-final with Rowan Moore. Patrick Kern got injured 5 minutes after half time. Gavin Crotty got injured at the start of the match. And you're relying then on your bench, which you should be. But sometimes the toll can be too much.
And I suppose looking into this year's championship, everyone, of course, the All-Ireland club champions are in the championship, but everyone's going to be looking towards them. But something I've thought for many years, which has kind of been a sleeping giant, is Dungarvan in itself, with the population it has, and even driving here, you see the amount of houses that are around. Like, my own club is a small fishing village, and we bet ourselves, I think it was 2007 or 2008 intermediate, and I always thought Dungarvan would push on and win a senior county. What would it mean for the people of Dungarvan to win one?
Oh, I'd imagine it'd mean everything. There's a fierce hunger and desire to get it done, and I'm sure in time it will get done. But it's just a matter, how often, like my own club, you came across a Conor Lehan, and after winning 2 counties with Conor, I would love to see Patrick and Dara pick up a county to be a.
And Jamie as well. Jamie's been a great servant.
Jamie's unbelievable servant.
Yeah.
If you're 15 Jamie's, you'll be doing very well.
You'll be doing very well. Yeah. I played against him on a couple of occasions. He's quite a tough man out in the field.
Yeah. He's quiet in his ways, but he's effective.
He lets his hurling do talking, as they say. And you were saying, like, just looking at it, obviously you've Clonea in your group again this year. Billy Powers exceptional last year. Of course, he's around the Waterford scene at the moment. Would you say, in a sense, that you did reference you're looking to top the group? Is that the goal from the start, or is it just the case game by game?
Oh, it's game by game, but like, we reached fair heights last year from where they came the year before. I think we've been struggling with relegation a couple of years before, but the style of hurling, it was very pleasing. The town was kind of alive, and if we can reenact that again and get the town behind us, you could be very hard to beat. By the opposite side, if you don't, I'd be confident the lads will come out and they'll hurl out of their socks, and that's the main thing.
I think that's what everyone wants to hear, and that's what this podcast is trying to do. As such, as we want to get people excited again about hurling and bring a new kind of coverage to it, because, like you said, with COVID, everyone was locked away for too long.
They were locked away, and these sweepers and extra ones and all this sort of stuff, it'd be more adamant. No, people just go out and hurl, and 15 on 15 and see who comes out on top.
So you're purist at heart.
I'd be absolute purist at heart, but we'll adapt to anything.
Yeah.
But hurling is a fantastic game. From underage hurling, if you go to an underage match, you'll always see one. There's always one kid you'll say, oh, he's a bit special.
Potential, yeah.
Or a girl, they're a bit special, like. And the style the lads played in last year, I'd love to see it come back again this year. I'm sure it will. And if they do, hopefully...
Sky's the limit.
Hopefully the sky's the limit. That's what you've got to be reaching for.
Of course. There's no point going out in the field unless you believe.
No. And then people are talking about Ballygunner, fantastic. They did Waterford proud last year. I think it helped them win the league as well. Waterford afterwards. But it doesn't go on forever.
No.
And if you look back in history, nothing goes on forever.
Kilkenny, Dublin, it all came to an end.
Dublin, in McKilly above in Cork, they changed the whole system of that because they thought that nothing goes on forever. So somebody will beat Ballygunner.
Will it be Dungarvan?
If we come across them, we'll find that out.
Well, I wish you the best of luck for the 2022 season, and it was a pleasure to talk to you, Peter.
Absolutely, and wish you the best of luck as well. Thanks a minute.
And of course, that was the thoughts of Dungarvan manager Peter Smith. And of course, Dungarvan off to a winning start with a 118 to 13 point victory over 4 Mile Water, like I said, in Group D. And in that group, the other team, we have Clonea, who get a bye this weekend. It'll be interesting to see, can Clonea stay up? Of course, they're managed by Dara Duggan this year. We're going to turn our attention to Group A, and of course the aforementioned Ballygunner get their campaign off with a match against near local rivals Passage. Of course, there's only a couple of miles that separate both clubs. This will be an interesting game. We'll see Patrick Fitzgerald make his senior debut, the highly anticipated minor who has come in through the ranks now with Ballygunner. Of course, I seen him live against Mount Sion in the Senior League final this year. Very impressive with 1-5. And of course, on the Passage side, we have Mark Fitzgerald, and they are cousins, first cousins. It'll be an interesting battle between those two. I've no doubt the two of them will go on and represent Waterford in years to come. With this one, I think it's too much to ask for Paul Carley's men. I think given the position that Ballygunner are in, like I said, I watched them in the league final. They bet Mount Sion comfortably. They had not an under-strength team, but I would say, they didn't have their marquee names that day and they still won comfortably. So for me, it's a Ballygunner win in that one. And that's 6:30 in Welch Park this Saturday. The other team in the group is De La Salle, of course. The City side faced relegation last year and they managed to beat Ballysaggart, of course, the three Bennett brothers. They managed to stay up. So it'll be interesting to see how De La Salle get on this year. Of course, they're managed by former fullback of the club, Ian Flynn. And we reached out to Ian, but unfortunately he wasn't available for a chat. So hopefully we might catch up with Ian next week. And of course, moving our attention to Group B, we have Abbeyside, Mount Sion and Tallow, and Mount Sion face Abbeyside this Sunday in a double header in Fraher Field. And I actually spoke to John Meany, the Mount Sion manager, ahead of this weekend's clash, and this is what he had to say.
So I'm here in the Mount Sion Centre with Mount Sion manager John Meany. John, welcome.
Thank you, Seamus. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. It's a pleasure to get your time because we were just chatting off air and you were saying, you wouldn't be the biggest media man or use the internet much, so I'm glad that you've given me your time. And look, I suppose we're here to talk about Mount Sion and your hopes for the season and what you look to achieve in this 2022 campaign.
I suppose, Seamus, like everybody that comes out in the championship, a new championship, everybody has aspirations going on to win the championship, but you have to take it, it's probably a cliche, but you have to take it step by step. Any championship you play, you kind of have to take it step by step. But we'll be no different than any team out there. We have aspirations to go and try and win this championship. That's what we're training for.
And looking back, I suppose, to last year, you were probably the closest team that did run the eventual winners. And do you look back with regret or do you look back with almost optimism for this season?
I kind of tend not to look back, to be honest with you, because what's done is done. We can't go back and change that. Like people spoke to us afterwards and we had our chances, but at the end of the day we didn't close it out, so we have to go back, and form last year will not count for any form this year. So we have to go and start. This is a new championship, new campaign, and our first leg is Sunday and we have to be ready for that.
And what do you think with that new campaign this year? Of course, everyone qualifies, it's all about seeding within the groups.
Yeah, I don't mind it, to be honest, because I think club players need games. They definitely need games, and the championship is kind of 4 groups of 3. It's not bad, so at least you're going to get 4 games, maybe 5, 6 games. It's something anyway, but the club player needs games, so the more games they can get and meaningful games, it benefits club hurling.
And I suppose it'll give you a chance to try out players as well, and kind of maybe the pressure could be off a little bit as well.
But I suppose you can't, going into this, if you lose a game in this format, you're probably going into the relegation quarter-final match. And if you win your 2 games, you're going to quarter-final stage. So, look, I suppose the direct route is the best way to go. So there's not really much time you can change it up. We've had challenge games to kind of look at fellas, and that's.
And how have the preparations so far with challenge games gone?
Yeah, they're good. There's been ups and downs. I think this year we've had 3 years of COVID weddings. There seems to be a wedding every other day. So there's fellas on hens, stags, everything, you name it, they've been there. So look, and that's the same. Any manager I was talking to arrange a challenge game, that's the way it is. But look, for our point of view, we've done everything we can. We're as ready as we can be. I suppose the anxiousness of this week is that it's first round of the championship. You don't know what way a challenge game doesn't compare to championship. So we're hoping we can hit the ground running. But look, we'll know Sunday if we can. And
with that, like you were saying, obviously the challenges are trying to get games. Recent years, people have quoted that the fun is kind of going out of hurling a small bit because everything is going so professional. Do you still see an element of enjoyment with your players coming every weekend?
Yeah, I think they enjoy training. They wouldn't be doing, I suppose, if they weren't. They enjoy training, but I get it. There is a seriousness to it now that you have to prepare right, and if you don't prepare to the level that other teams are preparing to, or go beyond that, you will not win a championship. So, is the enjoyment gone? The enjoyment's not gone if you're winning.
Of course.
That is still there. But there is an awful lot these players do behind the scenes, which is nobody sees that. They might be 2 or 3 nights a week with us, but they're doing stuff behind the scenes, eating, diet, and that's that's commendable to these players in this modern day, this modern game. Like,
And I suppose, like you said earlier, you weren't much of an internet man, but myself, I would look at a lot of social media, and there seems to be a lot of good work going on in the underage structure in Mount Sion at the moment, especially with getting the community involved.
yeah, look, we've had a few years where we weren't kind of setting the world alight underage, but there's massive work on, and we're probably, as a club and coaches up here, we're kind of striving to get back to where we were underage, and we probably don't give ourselves enough claps on the back as coaches up here, because I see the work they do. And and like, look, they won an under 13 last year, they're in under 15 final, the under 13s are going well this year, the 15s, they're out against Saturday, I think they win that, they're going right, the minors had a win the other night, so the things are going well up there, but like, it's like that, and everybody's putting in the same effort nowadays, so like, you have to have that bit of look on every championship team, like.
And when someone says Mount Sion, or you hear the word Mount Sion, what does it mean to you as
Proud.
a former player and manager currently?
Proud to be where I am and what I've achieved with the club and the people I know up here. Just proud.
I can see it, people can't see this, obviously it's auto, but I can see it in your eyes. And I suppose that's one of the main things on the podcast, that we try to bring that passion across, and I've no doubt you'll bring it again to this campaign like you did last year.
Oh yeah, look, I'm the manager, as you say, but I have a great team around me, like a massive team around me, and they're great people. They're better than I could ever aspire to be in terms of getting teams, preparing teams, but everyone is putting their shoulder to the wheel from the management perspective. The players are as well, so look, we're trying to do everything right. We don't always get it right, we don't always do the right thing, but we do it for the right reasons, like everybody, because the players they go out and they play the game to win games, and if they don't, like, only one team can win on a day unless it's a draw, like. So look, quite happy where we are at the minute, and hopefully we can.
Well, best of luck. Like you said, it's 2 o'clock in Fairfield on this Sunday against Tallow, your opening game in Group B. Against Abbeyside. Tallow is the following game. But I wish you the best of luck, and we might meet Pats again. I know you said you're not massively into the internet, but we might come across each other again, John.
Thanks very much.
And of course, that was John Meany, the Mount Sion manager, who I caught up with earlier on during the week. And looking to that game, I think myself, Mount Sion are going to shade this one. And if they can get Austin Gleeson firing on all cylinders, he's a man who can win any game. And of course, they've Stephen Roach over the last number of years has been the best club hurler for Mount Sion, in my own opinion. I think they'll have too much for Fraggy Murphy and Pat Kearns' Abbeyside. Although, given the football is not starting first this year, Abbeyside may have a full squad to take a run at this, but I think Mount Sion will just shade this one. And of course, in Group B, Tallow get the bye this week. Dennis Welch is over them this year, so we'll have a look at them the following week. And of course, that's 2 o'clock in Fairfield, part of a double header, which has Rowmore versus Lismore, the late game at 3:30 on Sunday. And of course, moving across then to Group C, we have the aforementioned Lismore, Rowmore and Dunhill. And of course, Lismore take on Rowmore, as I said, this Sunday at 3:30 in Fairfield. Peter Quealy's Charges, who have had the upper hand over Lismore the last couple of years. I caught up with Peter this week earlier on, and this is what he had to say.
So I'm here in Rowmore Clubhouse with Peter Quealy. Peter, welcome.
Thanks, Seamus.
2022 Championship kicks off this weekend. Of course, you're facing Lismore. How have preparations been going so far?
Alright, can't complain really. We had the same problems that everyone else had in relation to accumulation of a few injuries now and again, holidays and that, and we just had to roll with it, people have been tied down the last 2 years with COVID and that, so they're entitled to their breaks away and that. So we got them all back together now the last 2 weeks and played a challenge last week, and ready now for the beginning of the championship on Sunday.
And with the 22 Championship, the format has changed slightly in a sense that everyone will get games after when it's towards the relegation playoff or the quarter final. Do you see that as an advantage to use, maybe put out players, or is it a case of just go out and win every game you play?
It's slightly different as all, in relation to, the top team goes into the quarter final and the next two play off, rather than the top two went into the quarter finals last year. Obviously there was a little bit of extra pressure there in the earlier rounds because you could actually get eliminated, whereas this year you can't. But I think to have aspirations of progressing in the championship and looking further down the line, I think everyone is looking at topping their group and getting into that quarter final and avoiding the the knockout round, or whatever they call it, the first round proper and that, so it's only a slight change in that regard. Like.
And looking back on last year, I suppose we always try to look forward, but looking back on last year, you must have been very happy with how the campaign was, of course, reaching the final. Romore's first time there since the 80s.
Yeah, sure, we were happy up to the final. Obviously very disappointed the way the final turned out. So that kind of that left a bit of a sour taste. After the two previous weekends where we had the good victories and that. So it kind of galvanised us again this year. In relation to progressing and improving and stuff. So while we didn't do a whole pile of reflecting on last year. We do know that we didn't do ourselves justice in the final, and we're looking forward to looking for more improvement this year.
Was it a long winter based on the performance you said, in the final? You didn't probably get to the heights that you had the two weekends beforehand. Was it a long winter, or is it a case of just move ahead and try to get on with this year?
No, it has been a long winter, there's no doubt about it. We finished last year in county final. I haven't looked the date exactly, I think it was maybe late September. The football kicked in then, and the lads here didn't last too long in the football intermediate or up intermediate, so we kind of had a period there of November, December, January, February then when we regrouped and stuff. So, and even then, you're regrouping because it's been such a long winter, and even when we went back in February, it seems like ages ago now. So it has been a long winter. The off season is quite long now, because the season is so condensed, with the hurling football split and that, you're looking at anything from a 4-week season for some of the clubs who get knocked out early, and the ones that go the whole way, you're only looking at 6 or 7 weeks. So it's quite condensed, so it makes the period off quite long and hard to manage at times.
Is the excitement building now? We're coming to the first round of the championship, but like you said, the condensed season, we've seen inter-county is finished. Are the lads buzzing again? Is the enjoyment there?
Yeah, look, we are really looking forward to it now. The excitement will kick in now as we get closer to the game and stuff, and obviously then, it's forget about matches, forget about training, forget about challenges. Everything is just week after week now, which adds to the excitement, and before we know it, the championship will be over. So really looking forward to it starting.
And what's the aspirations for the year? I know everyone wants to qualify from the group, but does it get back to where you are last year?
We don't really have goals or aspirations, we had a monkey on our back there last year, in relation to failing to get past the quarter-final stage in a good few years. Having got that monkey off the back, then we went a step forward. This year we're just looking to improve. We just feel we didn't do ourselves justice in the county final, and we just want to get a level of consistency in our performance and improve on last year and see where that takes us.
Well, as you said, the game is on this Sunday in Fairfield at 2:30, and we look forward to it. We wish you all the best, Peter. Thanks for your time.
No problem, Seamus.
Of course, that was Peter Queally, who's of course in charge of Romore again this year. And as I said, Romore faced Lismore at 3:30 this weekend in Fairfield, part of a double header. We've Mount Sion and Abbeyside first, and then we have Lismore, Romore. It looks like Lismore camp, there's a lot of injuries. There's a bit of news coming out, a lot of injuries in the camp. Mara Shannon is battling a broken finger for fitness. And based on that evidence, I would have to go with Peter Queally's team. Romore, of course, had the upper hand in this fixture, and in my own opinion, undoubtedly the best two fixtures in the last couple of years has been the meeting of Lismore and Romore. Very entertaining, high-scoring game, so we'll be hoping that one really sets the championship off to a good start this weekend. And of course, we've already spoken about Group D, and we haven't mentioned yet Dunhill, who have come up from intermediate. And I had the pleasure of speaking to the legend of Dunhill and Waterford, of course. He was a fabulous Waterford hurler, and that's Mr. Tom Casey. And I caught up with Tom earlier on this evening, and we had a chat about preparations for Dunhill leading into this senior championship. So I'm out in Bunman in a picturesque setting at the moment with a very famous man from Dunhill, Mr. Tom Casey. How are you?
I'm good, Seamus.
Of course, we're out here this evening. There was a game back in your own club. You were training today. How are preparations going for the first round of championship?
Oh, they went well. Can't complain.
And of course, Dunhill back up in the top Premier grade in the county. What does it mean for Dunhill to be back up this year?
Well, it's always something they try to achieve. Not always a great success, but we were lucky last year. We got a break and we took it. And here we are today, so.
And of course, would the goal be this year now to stay up? That's the ultimate goal for this group.
Oh yes, it has to be. Has to be.
And of course, looking at the group stages, they changed this year, of course, given that anyone can lose one game and still qualify. Do you think it's a better system and it gives teams like yourselves a better chance of staying up, or do you think maybe you should go back to the old style?
Well, the more games that we get in it, the better chance we have of surviving.
At the end of the day, I suppose that's very true. And we spoke just off air a couple of moments ago, about niggles and stuff like that. Do you find it harder with the condensed season compared to years gone by when you had kind of more of a longer summer?
I don't know, it's funny. That one always baffles me. The training is completely different now to what it was. There's no resemblance of going back 10 years ago. That's dead. And for a new lad like me, it's hard to fathom it out at times. But as gone as you go along, you would. But the lads, the fellas that are hurling today, they put in a superhuman effort to keep their feet on. They're bound to get niggles along the way, and they're bound to pull up. It's not easy on them.
No, I suppose you see it with top class racehorses.
Yeah.
They often get niggles and they're so finely tuned athletes.
Well, you can't run a good racehorse every day of the week either.
No, that's very true. I think that's something, like looking back on years gone by, there was plenty of socialising, but there was not even in a drink element, but there was plenty of downtime.
Yeah.
Now it's just constantly every day.
Yeah.
I was speaking to John Allen a couple of weeks ago, and he mentioned that he thinks fun is being taken out of the game. What do you think?
Fun
of that?
element is gone out of it. It is for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, players, management team, everything. It's pressure the whole time now. You're dealing with. You have lads on shift work. They're ringing you up. They're held at work. It's not easy on lads. On any panel of players now, no matter where they are.
Yeah.
And especially when you have small numbers.
I think that's, even coming from a small village like myself, I see it as well, numbers wise. It's hard to keep going back to the well and getting a group back every year.
No doubt it is. No doubt.
And I suppose then, you have a bye this weekend. Will you be going to any of the matches this weekend, or will you just be sticking to yourselves?
And the management will go and see him.
Yeah.
Go see the game in Dungarvan.
Yeah.
The players won't.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be advising the players.
Of course, yeah.
Not to go down.
And of course, nowadays with modern technology, all the games are being streamed.
Sure they are.
Yeah.
They'll have that. They'll see that as soon as we'll see it. They'll see it.
Yeah.
So.
It's the advantages, I suppose, of modern technology.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
And looking from the outset of the championship, everyone is Pippin Ballygunner again. They're all Ireland club champions, Munster champions. They're going for a 9th consecutive title. Do you see anyone stopping them this year?
Not in the present day system, because in previous years where you had your Club All Ireland on St. Patrick's Day, 6 weeks later, those boys had to line out again their county championships. And that's when they were vulnerable. Well, you're going to get 4 months off.
Yeah, rest time.
Rest time.
It is. It's a scary thought when you think of it.
Yes.
They actually have a couple of players underage that have come into the adult system. They've never lost a game for Ballygunner, ever.
That just tells you.
And I suppose
that they have. But it's up to everybody else to get up to that level.
It is, exactly, and that's what I always say. Kilkenny dominated for years, Dublin in the football, Limerick in the hurling. It doesn't last forever.
No.
So it is up to everyone else to get back up to that level. But it's, for me personally, I think it's great to see Dunhill back up in the top grade, because we have a cluster of city clubs, and then we have our west clubs, and then you have the likes of ourselves, Passage, out in the country. Tramore, for such a big area, should be doing a lot better in terms of numbers. Yourselves, it's great to see yourselves back up. Sum up what it means for Dunhill to be back at the top grade.
Well, for me, as a fella that played senior hurling, I started playing senior hurling, and I ended up playing junior hurling, but there was a senior team still there. For me personally, it's magnificent seeing back up there, because there's something that you always wanted to see, because we were so used to it. The lads that I played with, we were so used to it. It was hard to see the lads, the good players that we had back when they were playing intermediate hurling. We had good teams, but they just didn't get across that line. They were beaten in 3 or 4 or 5 county finals and never got over it. We got there in 11. We're back down in 13, you know, beaten in the county final again, and then we didn't get through till last year.
Yeah.
And like, no matter what people will say, if the assist from the Bowman lads wasn't there, we'd have struggled.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
yeah,
we'd have struggled.
And you
And
see,
like, it would be wrong of me if I didn't say that.
of course, no, you see it with
Because there'd be
Portlaw and
people out there
Ballyduff.
only waiting to hop it off me.
Yeah,
No, we had fellas from Bowman last year. They were outstanding. And it wasn't the all Hamleys.
yes,
Hamley's Hamley.
yeah.
It was the fellas that were brought in. Unknown. They were the fellas that done the business. That no one knew.
Yeah.
Even Bowman themselves were amazed to see these fellas making the intermediate team.
I suppose it gives them another lease of life when they go somewhere like that, you know.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. But they
Well,
were
is it-
prepared to do the work. And listen, they had a great coach in Paddy Mullally.
Yeah.
A great man. And they listened. They
But
were attentive.
when two clubs come together like that, with no disrespect to Bowman, isn't it great for Bowman players to be able to play at a higher grade as well? You know, like
It must be that must be decent on everyone's base, whether you're assistant or whether you're on your own. You must want to get to the top level. Like any fella can play junior hurling.
of course.
You get 15 fellas going down the road, they play junior hurling.
Yeah,
But to get up to the top, that's what you need.
it's a serious achievement.
It is, yeah. Oh,
Does
God,
it make you
is.
proud?
Naturally enough, it would, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's why I always wanted to be like, you know. So here we are now. Just get on with it.
We are, and we're certainly looking forward to it. And we're keeping a close eye next week. I'll be in attendance myself, and I wish you all the best for the year. And thanks for talking to us, Tom.
Thanks very much, Seamus. Thank you.
Of course, as I said, that was Tom Casey of Dunhill, and Tom is definitely looking forward to being back at the top grade in Waterford Hurling. It's a very exciting weekend ahead as we look forward to the first round of Championship. As I said, Dungarvan got off with a victory tonight, 118 to 13 points, an 8-point victory for Peter Smith's side. I'd just like to take this chance to thank all the managers who took the time to meet with me. It's not easy with a busy schedule, and I do appreciate it. To everyone who's listening, if you want to get in contact with the show, you can contact us on Twitter, Instagram. If you'd also like to put your comments on our YouTube channel, everything is at I Love My Club By. If you'd like to get in touch or any recommendations. And like I said, it is a busy weekend ahead as we enter into this bank holiday August weekend. And who would have thought we would have said it? Hurling starting on an August bank holiday weekend. That's the split season for you folks. But enjoy it. Get out to as many games as possible. We have a double header down in Fairfield on Sunday. The weather's supposed to be good. Get down there for the first game at 2. And of course, as a mouth-watering appetizer, we have Passage versus All-Ireland champions Ballygunner in Welch Park from 6:30. So, listen out. We'll be back next week with analysis as we look through all the games and look forward to round 2 of the championship. And of course, don't forget to contact us, like I said, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Get us on all our social media handles and get out there and enjoy it. It's not going to be around for a long time because of the new format. And of course, this weekend I'm tipping Roemore, Ballygunner and Mount Sion to come out on top. I did fancy Dungarvan, although it's easy to say that in hindsight now that the game is over. But I hope you've enjoyed the show. It's been a pleasure doing our very first preview show, and we want to make this a weekly routine. So, like I said, any comments or any feedback, get in contact with the show. I'll be more than happy to take it on board. Remember, I love my club by.
Wherever you're listening, whether it be Ballyduff or Ballygunner, Passage or Portlaw, Dungarvan or Dunhill, tune in to I Love My Club By, the podcast that brings you closer to camogie and hurling in the Waterford club scene. Don't forget, hurling is our passion.